Now tonight we're launching a new ITV initiative called From the Heart, where we're featuring the issue of organ donation. 3 people die every day waiting for a transplant.
One man from Bridgnorth in Shropshire, Richard Smith, says he owes his life to an organ donor after he had a liver transplant 20 years ago. This is his story.
I just moved back from London to Shropshire in Christmas 1992. Completely fit and healthy, never been ill before in my life. Within the first couple of weeks of January I started to feel slightly nauseous and tired, and then started to go yellow, started to go jaundice. I got a very clear idea that I was going to die. All I could do was phone my dad. By the time my dad got around to the house, which was 5 or 10 minutes later, I was kind of behind the door on the floor in a coma. I needed a liver transplant, and if I didn't get one within 48 to 72 hours, I'd be dead. The evening I went into hospital, a young man was killed, fatally injured in a car accident. His parents, who supported his wishes in the most appalling circumstances, that saved my life that weekend. Just enormously proud of this young man who had the foresight to sign a register. No question, that weekend in February, two guys in their mid-20s would have died. As it was, one did and the other one lived, and that just happened to be me. The doctor said to me, "Your life has been saved, now go and live it." I've been very fortunate that as I come up to the 20th anniversary of my liver transplant, that I've lived an enormously full, satisfying life. I have 2 children, 14 and 16 years old, Grace and Charlie. They wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for that.
The incredible story of Richard Smith. Well, joining us now is Simon Bramall, who is a consultant transplant surgeon from the Queen Elizabeth Hospital in Birmingham. Simon, thank you for joining us. We said earlier on that 3 people die on the waiting list alone every day. Now that figure's still very high. Why do we have such a critical shortage of donors?
It's about demand and supply, really. There are an increasing requirement for transplant of solid organs, and whilst the numbers of donors have increased in the UK over the course of the last 4 years, since the Organ Donor Task Force was reported back in 2008, the numbers of donors is still not keeping pace with the requirement.
As you say, you'll never have sufficient donors, so how on earth can you encourage more people to sign that piece of paper?
I think we could have sufficient donors, actually, if all of the potential was fulfilled, because we know what the potential is in the UK, and if we fulfilled all of the potential, then we probably would have enough organs. I think the most important thing is that families discuss it amongst themselves, so that if they're ever put in that horrendous position where they have to make a decision, they know the wishes of the loved ones. Being on the organ donor register is very valuable, and we know that the consent rates amongst families is much higher when they know their loved one is on the organ donor register than it is when they're not. So I think discussing it and going on the organ donor register can only be a positive thing.
Can we ask you just very briefly about Black and Asian communities, because the problem is particularly pronounced there. How do you encourage those communities to actually donate?
I think again it's about discussion, really. I mean, there are some cultural and religious beliefs that perhaps aren't true. When they talk to their religious leaders, they'll see that organ donation is not actually contraindicated. So I think discussion amongst the seniors and the younger members of the family can only be positive, and having those discussions within their religious circles and religious groups will also be a very positive thing.
Okay, we'll have to leave it there. Simon Bramall, thank you very much for joining us. Now, tomorrow we'll be hearing from someone who carried out her husband's wishes and agreed to donate his organs. And if you do wish to donate your organs and want further information, then go to itv.com/central from the heart for further details.